Space. Stop recording.
Yeah, hey, Blind Guy doing stuff here, and I'm gonna do a quick video today on the Portland killer. I think his name is Jonathan Christian, who killed two people over the weekend and injured a third while sticking up for a lady wearing a hijab and a young woman who's 16. The the story was, if you missed it, the the one guy, Jonathan Christian, was on the train. He started belittling the two African American women. One of them had a hijab, telling them to go back to their country. They needed to leave, and just all kind of nonsense. And then there was two people that decided to step in, and a third guy too. And then the Jonathan Christian guy, pulled out a knife, and he's a known white supremacist. He pulled out a knife and attacked the two guys standing up for the guy, and killed them. And then the one guy was severely injured. And it's just a terrible story. And you know, if you look at it, and I was thinking about this last night, these guys, that is, I mean, because it's almost the same as what happened over, except the guy over in, I think it was Minnesota, wasn't sticking up for anybody, but it's sort of the same behavior as ISIS, where they show up somewhere and just start slashing people. And if you look at it, it's sort of the same personality. A lot of these guys is coming out that a lot of these guys are sort of in the same vein as being they're mentally ill. Like the guy in Manchester, he was one of these people. They said he was one of these guys that would just believe everything. I know you've met these kind of people that you can that they just believe things. People, a lot of they're picked on a lot because they're bullied, because they're just naive. I don't. It's not even naivete. It's just they don't. It's just some little screw loose there, and they're picked on a lot and they're bullied a lot. And this guy over in Manchester, same thing happened, and he just eventually got hooked in with the wrong people, and they convinced him to go over there and blow himself up. But in the end, he really had a little touch of mental illness. Now, how you can fix that, I don't know. And then if you take a look at this guy in Portland, this guy went to prison. All accounts are sort of he was off before he went to prison. He went to prison, had a run in with the white supremacists in the prison, and became a white supremacist, and came out and is just known to the police and roams around Portland. And he's a little crazy too, and apparently was supporting Bernie at one time, but got wrapped up. Who knows what he got wrapped in, because he's mentally ill. If you've ever been around mentally ill people, and unfortunately, I've been around quite a few in my life, just in my own personal life and just around people out on the street and whatnot, you can always tell. And if you sort of pay attention, you can tell. And these are the people that seem to be susceptible to a lot of the ISIS propaganda, and these are the same people that are susceptible to the white supremacist propaganda, and they're getting caught up and they're going out committing violence. But just like the previous video I was talking about with the soldiers, it's the it's the same thing. It's the same psychology, it's the same mindset, it's the same process. It's everything. And I'm making these videos because I really want people and Americans to really start seeing that what's going on with the Middle East and their people and their suicide bombers and their strong men and the people following their strong men, ISIS, is kind of the same thing that's going on over here. The alt right following their strong men and following their people and committing violence in the name of their cause. And so we have a lot of this going on, and it's going on around the world. And why is it going on around the world? Well, what's going on around the world because capitalism is on the brink of melting down. The banksters have sucked up all of the wealth up to the top. Ooh, there's my chair. So they sucked up all the wealth up to the top, and we're down here at the bottom just left fighting over everything. There's no mental health treatment in the UK. If you got any friends in the UK, you can look and see they do have some things, but they're going backwards with their national health system over there, and the wealthier have all the are having everything, and there's studies out there to say that the more unequal a society is, the more and that the more violent it is. And our society, we're basically one in here in the West anyway, one large capitalist society where all the trading and everything's sort of based on the same economics, and it's not working. And you're getting this violence and all this stuff happening, and it's directly related to our economic system. It's directly related to the poor people, and the middle class slipping into poverty, and it's just we're all down here fighting over anything. We're fighting amongst each other. I mean, the suicide bomber, he, he was so susceptible. There you go, to the propaganda that he went and blew up some people in his own hometown. He might even known some of these people. He was so susceptible to this. The guy in Portland apparently had African American friends before he went into prison. And we could go on and get onto the rant about prisons right now and the conditions in those. Another sign of capitalism meltdown, the overcrowding of prisons. Why is a guy who's mentally ill committing crimes and thefts having problems? Why is he going to prison and being in contact with mentally ill, with white, not mentally ill, with white supremacists? Why isn't he putting some kind of therapy? Why isn't he taken care of a little better? And so this is a worldwide problem, and it's really showing it, rearing its ugly head here in the West right now. And the only way we're going to start to change this is to try to get a better economic system where all the wealth isn't being taken up to the top, and then we can start getting some of the things that we need to survive down here on the bottom, like mental health, like education, like bullying prevention in the schools, like a compassionate society where we look at everybody as valuable no matter what problem they have and try to help them. But that's not the world we live in, especially in the UK and the United States. You either make it or you don't, and if you don't, then that's just your problem. And so this is a fundamental problem with our system going on right now, and it's showing itself through all this terrorism. And this is a little known thing people talk about. You know, Syria was a socialist country before Assad took over. Iraq was a socialist country before we went in there and blew them up. The Baaths was a socialist party in the Middle East. And that, one of my theories is the big reason we went in there to Iraq is because they wanted to get rid of, they didn't like them because the banksters, they wouldn't let the banksters in to get their banks. And so we just couldn't have that. So, Iraq, we see what happened. They disbanded the government in Iraq. Nobody has health care, no schools, no anything. Went from a totally socialist country until you got Brennan and Rumsfeld and all these guys trying to do their little libertarian experiment over there. They literally thought, and this was on the news for like a week, they were going to open up and have this capitalist dreamland over there in Iraq, and it didn't work. You got Syria, went from socialist to a sort of right-wing government, a laissez-faire capitalist government, and look what happened there. You had some farmers out in the rural part of the country couldn't farm their crops because of global warming or whatever. If you don't believe in global warming, the climate was changing. They had 5 years of drought. So if you don't believe in global warming, there was 5 or 6 years of drought there. They sent the farmers to the city. They had no work. They started agitating because you got a whole bunch of unemployed people in the cities. It boiled over, voila, civil war. Would that have happened if there would have been more support for the farmers? Would that have happened if there would have been more food support in the cities? Would that have happened if they would have had housing in the cities, as they probably did before under a socialist government? Now, he was a dictator, yes, but it was they had more of a socialist system. So would we be here if we went down a different road as far as our economics goes? I don't know. I mean, right now, the most stable part of the world right now is, Denmark and Holland and Finland and all those places. You don't see them on the news much, but, they're somewhat stable. They don't have the murder rate like we do. They don't have the murder rate like the UK is getting. They don't have the death rate like they have in the Middle East. The whole place in the Middle East was destabilized, and it's going to continue to be destabilized as long as our military is over there doing the work for the oil companies. Because, we were going to bring freedom to Iraq, but then, well, that didn't work. Well, we were going to bring capitalism to Iraq. Oh, well, that didn't work. So now we just throw all that pretense up, and then now we're just over there for the heck of it, I guess. I mean, nobody can. We're there to get ISIS now. So, there are so many commonalities going on between our radicals here in the United States and the radicals in the Middle East that is hard to ignore. And if you have two things happening in the same in completely different places but are similar, then it's an easy step to look and see what the root cause of those two things is, because they probably have nearly the same cause. And that is capitalism melting down. Violence is a feature of this. So I am the blind guy doing stuff. I hope you like my video today. And subscribe to my page, hit like or subscribe, share the videos. We'll be trying to do more of these. And have a good day. Bye-bye.